Since the Taliban outlawed opium cultivation in Afghanistan, Europe's heroin market has been anticipating a lack of supply.
There's some dealers that I just won't go to because what they're selling, you can taste it isn't heroin.
But there are growing fears that new synthetic drugs could flood in to fill the vacuum.
You ain't going to stop it. You're basically fighting a war that you're not going to win.
Experts are increasingly concerned about how vulnerable users can be protected from a US-style opioid crisis.
We are really not equipped. Just like we were not equipped for COVID. I feel like we're there again.
As drug consumption rooms offer other European countries an opportunity to stay a step ahead.
All over Europe, people are talking about what is going on with fentanyl, and we will be the first to know.
What more can the UK do to mitigate against the worst of this gathering storm?
The question is, how many people have to die before you call something a crisis, right?
I was knocking on this one.
I'm visiting drugs charity Release in London's Tower Hamlets, one of the worst affected areas from problematic drug use in the UK.
You need some branding on the outside.
Actually, we're going through paint samples right after this.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I hear that drug-related deaths are at an all-time high, certainly since records began, and I just wonder whether that plays out tangibly on the streets around here.
We're definitely hearing more about non-fatal overdoses as well as fatal overdoses, and we're hearing more about just really funky drug supplies. People having unexpected effects of using drugs, people showing positive for drugs that they had no knowledge that they took.
What does that say? That the market is being filled with all sorts of different things that weren't previously available.
We do know heroin's more expensive right now at the global scale. So like if you have the means to produce synthetic opioids, if they're easier to get across the border in really smaller packages because they're so much more potent. There's loads of reasons a market moving towards synthetic opioids in a prohibitionist like legal environment makes sense.
Also here at Release, Abdi Hassan of outreach group Coffee Afric.
Hi, I'm from the outreach team for a local charity. Just checking how you are at the moment.
Abdi works to support street homeless people across the borough.
Oh look, there's enforcement again. Yeah. There's just no more rough sleepers here. We used to have people sleep up until this point, and now it's boxed up as part of the council's approach to enforcement. Street cleansing, according to their language.
Compounded by this hostile environment, Abdi's service users are some of the people at greatest risk of a changing drug supply.
Let me show you this. That was just opposite there.
Oh wow.
See?
Oh my god.
It's quite shocking.
Presumably this felt different to what
Very
you'd be used
different.
to.
Physical health conditions that were very visible. I mean, really serious conditions. Others that were slumped over for many hours. And that was a deep concern for us. Last month, over 200 service users were engaged by the team. And that's just, it's increasing, it's not declining.
Are we talking about the rise of synthetic opioids?
Yes, I fundamentally believe that's our biggest challenge at the moment.
Abdi takes to the streets in the hope of raising awareness about the risks of synthetic opioids.
There's one specifically that was killing a lot of people.
Like a fentanyl.
Fentanyl, yeah, fentanyl.
Yeah, it's a fentanyl basically.
Yeah.
You know, it's all cut up with loads of shit.
The most alarming class of synthetics in the UK supply are nitazenes. Even stronger than fentanyl, they have been traced back to labs in China, smuggled into the UK through the dark web.
At the moment, America's got a major issue with fentanyl.
Do you think that's coming here?
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to stop it?
No. You want to help the situation? Decriminalise. If not decriminalise, create better environments. Do away with the discrimination. It's your choice.
I believe passionately it is because of synthetics and this decline in the Afghan supply chain and other supply chains that are rooted in where we're at today. And the services are not meeting that at all at the moment. What I am seeing more and more is enforcement. If what you're doing is, as a council, sending out enforcement officers who are just shoving people from one road to another, and that's not healing a person.
What would you like to see to tackle this?
I think we need urgent drug testing across the country. We need to pilot safe use hubs, totally reimagine public health services. We need more outreach services like ours. We need to provide support for the whole human.
But what that support might look like remains a contentious issue. The UK is opening its first drug consumption room in Glasgow this summer, so I've come to the biggest drug consumption room in the world here in Copenhagen to find out what benefit it brings to the area.
I'll show you around.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go. This is 817. We have between 8 and 1,100 intakes a day in this facility and in our smaller facilities. We have been doing drug consumption rooms in Denmark since 2012. Now we go into the user side.
Is there a worry at all that having facilities like this open exacerbates the problem?
We started out, there was, a lot of disagreement about this. The Conservative Party were against it. But today, they are not against it anymore. Of course, we still have problems. But some of the problems we had before 2012 are gone. This is the injection room. We can have up to 10 people at the time in here. They don't have any veins to inject anymore, so they need to go to their neck. They need to go to their
groin, yeah. And presumably they get a little bit of time.
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Your role here isn't to try and get people off drugs.
When I started out, I had a lot of treatment optimism. But we are talking about people who have been into treatment 30 times, 50 times, and every time they go into treatment, they are coming back. What, as a society, do we do for them? Should they die in the streets in front of the school buses and the tourists? Or should we actually make a place like this where they can do their drugs and then maybe someday we can help them get into treatment?
For me it's humiliating when I have people see what I do. Of course there's a lot of shit in here also, but it's the best for us because we have a place where we can take our drugs and people don't shout at us, go home, junkie, wow. Here we are just like a big family.
Before I was reading law at university.
Right.
A lot of things happened. I ended up here on the street with nothing. But then they helped me with home and apartments and everything.
Could this centre do more to try and help you get off drugs?
Yeah, they do. Before I smoked heroin, I only take methadone now. That's also a big improvement for me.
Do you hope to get off drugs?
No, I love it. I want it. I am who I am. I'm not a bad man just because I use drugs.
You open a place like this or you don't, you're not going to stop people from using drugs. That's for sure.
And you think we're mad in the UK not to have it?
Insane, why? Why we don't want to help people the lowest in society? This place is amazing.
Back inside, on-the-spot testing, something there is precious little of in the UK, is seen as crucial to identifying changes in the supply.
Have you seen any other drugs sort of entering the market?
No, but we're looking for it. If we suddenly see, a lot of new synthetic opioids, we would be the first to know here.
This centre doesn't exist in a vacuum. It needs the support around it in order to function. Yeah. What's the key thing here? Is it money? Is it investment from politicians?
It is a combination of many things. Of course, this costs some money. Of course, that is controversial. But we have been worked on more than 1,300 overdoses and no one has died. So you actually save money in having offers like this.
Do you leave stuff like this here?
Someone will come and clean up. There are boxes down there to the needles.
Local police here take a different approach to the hardline tactics seen in London.
Everybody I meet, the people who are living here, but also the vulnerable people in the street, I'm their policeman. I'm not interested in what you have in your pocket. I'm just interested in how are you today? How can I help you today? They will take the drugs anyway, so why don't we help them?
And you were perhaps the first responder for a lot of these
Yes,
people.
I was. They were sitting everywhere in the streets, taking their drugs. And many died, still with the needles in the arm.
That must have a huge impact on you personally, right?
Yes. I brought you to this spot because this is a turning point for me how to be a policeman. About 25 years ago, I met Søren. He was sitting just outside the apartment. He struggled finding a vein because he had no functional veins. The tears was running down his cheeks. And he said, "Rud, my own father had sexual abused me when I was a child. When I have these thoughts in my head, I have only two choices. I can kill myself or I can take my drugs." And that particular day, Søren took his drugs and it's many years ago since Søren died.
Why do you think it was him that had such an impact on you?
It was a moment where I saw why it was so important for him to take his drugs. I only saw all the disturbances, the violence, the theft, all the crime. I didn't see the people behind. I wish I could have taken Søren in his hand and follow him to the fixing room, but it wasn't available at the time. But now it's here, and I think it's the best thing ever happened in this neighborhood. The city changed from one day to another.
Back at release, plans are underway for a community drop-in centre, also aimed at harm reduction, but a far cry from the services available in Denmark.
The market here is changing, and I think the task and why the hub exists is to actually really quickly build community power amongst people who use drugs to respond to the upcoming crisis themselves, to keep each other safe. But there's also loads of really important things that we can do right now.
That includes increasing the availability of naloxone, which reverses opioid overdose, amongst communities at greatest risk from problematic drug use.
You pop this in the muscle, thigh, butt, shoulder, the same places you'd get a vaccine, basically. I gave somebody this naloxone over the weekend on the tube in Brixton at 2 in the morning.
But you carry this stuff about your person.
Yes. I would honestly recommend everyone do that, but doubly so for anybody whose loved ones, friends, neighbors, or people who are using drugs. Not only should everybody know what it is, but they should know how to get it, where to get it from, and feel confident that if they don't have it on their person, one of their friends does when they go out for the night.
The hope in Glasgow is that the new consumption room will have a dramatic effect on drug-related deaths, currently and by some distance the highest in Europe. Despite the unfolding crisis, there are currently no plans to roll out similar centres across the rest of the UK, drawing the awareness and availability of naloxone into ever sharper focus.